Welcome back to another episode of ECOTtv. On today's show, we meet Joe Blankenship, Ecot's 7th grade science teacher who shows us how science can be fun. I'm Ecot 10th grader Mia Lowry, and you're watching ECOTtv.
Hey everybody, Mr. Blankenship here from Ecot 7th grade science, and today we are talking about the connection between science and fun. You see, when something is able to, say, bounce, roll, walk, unwind, expand, explode, or something complicated like running an iPod or digesting an apple, we say that thing has energy. Now, scientists describe energy as the ability to do work or change position. And that's about all the definition you're going to get. That's because that scientists don't really quite know what energy is. In fact, physicist Paul Hewitt says that energy is only describable by its examples. Now, some examples of energy in action include things like throwing a baseball or stretching a rubber band and letting it go. Sometimes energy shows up when electrical charges are rearranged, or when we separate two things that are attracted to one another. Today we're going to talk about something called mechanical energy, which comes in two forms, potential and kinetic. Now, when energy is stored in something like, say, a tube and Rider combination, we call it potential energy. Why? Because it has the potential to do work. In this case, slide down a hill. Now, gravity is pulling you and me and everyone and everything around us towards the center of the earth. Now, when we act against gravity, like, say, going up a hill, we build up something called gravitational potential energy, which, despite the lofty term, simply is my weight plus the tubes multiplied by the height of the hill. Now, my weight plus the tube's weight is about 1,019 newtons. Now, that sounds like a lot, but really it's just our combined mass, which is about 104 kilograms, multiplied by the acceleration of gravity, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. Now, let's say the height of the hill is about 60 meters. From that, I can calculate that my potential energy is going to be about 61,140 joules. Now, that might sound impressive, but looks-wise, not so much. You see, scientists don't consider potential energy to be very meaningful. That's because energy only takes on significance when it's causing something to happen. That's because energy can only be experienced when it's being transformed from one type to another or transferred from one place to another, what we call the energy of motion, kinetic energy. Now, because energy is never created or destroyed, the potential energy I have at the top of the hill will equal the kinetic energy I have when I reach the bottom. And at all points in between, you'll see my potential energy decrease while my kinetic energy increases when I reach the bottom. Now, here at the top of the hill, we say that I start with about 61,000 joules of potential energy and 0 kinetic. By the time I reach the bottom of the hill, it'll have flipped and I'll have 0 potential and 61,000 joules of kinetic. By the way, if you want, you can use this energy conversion to calculate just how fast you're going when you reach the bottom of the hill. For me, it'll be about 34 meters per second. Here we go! Science!
Who thought there was that much to tubing down a hill? Now let's go from the Snow Hill to the Capitol Hill as we reveal your favorite U.S. presidents. For our last question of the week, we asked you, who is your favorite U.S. president and why? We had a lot of great responses and have narrowed it down to our top 3. Debriano writes, George Washington is my favorite U.S. president because if it wasn't for him, this country wouldn't be what it is today. Our next response comes from Joseph, who says, my favorite U.S. president of all time would be Abraham Lincoln because he freed the slaves in 1865. Shortly after the end of the Civil War. And our final response comes from Ashley, who writes, my favorite president is Ronald Reagan because he and his wife Nancy put a big effort into trying to end drug and alcohol abuse in minors. Congratulations to our winners, and thanks for all of your responses. Our next question of the week comes from Haley Bowman, who asks, if you were a construction builder, what would you build? You can respond by messaging us in the Ecot Message Center or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Vine. The winners of the question of the week will be featured on the next ECOTtv episode and receive an ECOTtv prize pack. Now let's take a look at some of the upcoming Ecot events. With the park testing coming up later this month and the OGT coming up in March, we wanted to share a few tips for test taking and preparation. Our first tip is to eat a healthy breakfast the morning of the test. Eating a healthy breakfast will give you the energy you need to sustain your focus for the duration of the test. Our second tip is to use good time management. Remember, relax. You have plenty of time. Always answer the easier questions first so that you can spend more time on the harder questions. And be sure to answer all the questions before you go back, using that extra time to check your answers. Each week, we will reveal 2 tips that you can use to prepare for your upcoming tests. And if you want to see our complete list of testing tips and find links to other test-taking resources, look for the testing tips posting on ECOTtv.com. Good luck! And now let's look at a promo for the upcoming college and career fair with a video from one of our Ecot guidance counselors. That's all for this week. Be sure to tune in each week for a new episode of ECOTtv or visit ECOTtv.com for past episodes and featured stories. Remember, if you have an idea for ECOTtv or like to be a part of the show, contact us in the Ecot Message Center. For everyone here at ECOTtv, I'm Mia Lowry. Thanks for watching.